Going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Halfman, and welcome to my thoughts on Gray Zone Warfare today. I've been playing for about a week and a half now. We hit level 19, played a decent amount of the quests and the content the game has to offer at the moment, and I want to give my thoughts on the positives, the negatives of the game, in my opinion of those, and whether or not it's worth to buy, whichever standard edition or the expensive one you're thinking about buying, and that way you can kind of form an opinion around that. Now, I usually start with the negatives first, and then I go to the positives, just so that way you can hear the negatives first about the game as of right now. Of course, we're in early access, so everything that I'm talking about right now is subject to change, and I'm sure down the line I will end up probably making a whole nother video talking about this game if it continues to be a game that is worth playing. Because right now, I do enjoy it. I do like making content for it. It's a lot of good time, but I fear once I get to the point, at least for me through my playthroughs, when I get to the end of the quest, that the game may feel stale. So, that being said, let's discuss a couple things. So, my biggest gripe with this game, the one thing that bothers the heck out of me, is the actual traveling of the game, of like moving from place to place, because of the fact that if you have multiple people trying to go to different locations at once, and the helicopters are all full, you can wait anywhere between a minute all the way to 15 minutes. And the longest I've ever waited was 14 minutes and 27 seconds. And that was because every time I tried to get a helicopter to go back to base, it was nearly impossible, because you had people trying to go from the base to a different location, or from a different location back to base, or a different location to a different location, because you don't have to necessarily go back to base. You can go from like YBL1 to go over to Falling Airfield. So there's a lot of issues where there'd be a lot of downtime, and it would make me really go, okay, this is getting really tedious. I'm just sitting here. I don't really want to be sitting here anymore. I'd rather be over somewhere else. But if I try to quit and leave, obviously I'll lose all my progression, or I'm just getting really bored. I usually am pretty good when it comes to trying to be relaxed in a situation like that, but it really was frustrating a lot of times playing the game, where I'm just like, what do I do now? I can't do anything. I'm basically stuck because the game has no mechanics for me to move. I'll go over more about that in a second, because I do have some thoughts on how that could be fixed, and hopefully they'll take that into account. But that was the one thing that really did irk me about it, but that's really my biggest gripe. The other negative thing that I noticed in the game as of right now, the AI is extremely aimbotty. Once they get locked onto you, basically, they will shoot you through no matter what it is. Granted, certain protection or objects they may be hiding behind will be able to stop the projectiles, but there's been so many times where I'll be behind, a wall, I'll be behind like a structure, and somehow they still are able to shoot me through that structure, and it's like, it gets frustrating because you're trying to sit there and take cover like you're supposed to, and they're able to still take you down. So hopefully that gets addressed, where they'll be able to look at different cover systems where it shouldn't be going through, the bullet shouldn't be going through, or the AI doesn't always track you through stuff, or when you go behind a cover, they'll think you're still there and you're able to move around, and you can kind of get away from their line of sight, because it kind of has the same problem as Tarkov right now. Once they're locked onto you, they're locked onto you, and it becomes kind of a headache, because it shouldn't be a thing like that. You want them to be very difficult to fight, but you want them to have like a balanced feel to it. That makes sense. Now, when it comes to questing, and this is something that you guys have mentioned a million times in the comments, and I actually do agree with you, is trying to find the keys that go to certain quests. Now, I'm all up for things being difficult. As you know, I don't like having like quests guide me to exactly where I need to go to. It's one thing I like about the quest system, is the fact that it gives you kind of a vague like description of what you're supposed to be doing, and you have to figure it out yourself. That aspect I like myself. But it's the key issue. When you require a key to go to a location to get an item to complete the task or the quest, or whatever you want to call it, I feel like having it so where the NPCs are the only thing that drop the key is a really bad idea. If there's different ways you can get the key, such as like having it inside of like a container, have it in like a jacket or something, that is definitely something that needs to be addressed, because it can stall you for literally hours on depending on your RNG. You may get super lucky, or you may be sitting there for 2 hours going, okay, I've searched every single person that I've killed and I cannot find this key. and it can be annoying. It can be draining because if you're stuck in that progression, you can't move to other quest lines. It literally blocks you. You can't do anything else. So that's one of my negative things right now. Just be prepared. If you're going to be doing some quests, you're probably going to be searching a decent amount of time for those keys, or hopefully get lucky to find someone that has that one, unlock the door for you. Another thing that I find negative about the game at the moment, at least, and a lot of people are concerned about too, is the actual requirement to play the game. Because right now, it does take a lot to actually run this game. I have a i7-8700K for my processor. I have a 3090 Ti. Trying to think, I've got a 1440p monitor, and it still bogs down a lot of times. I mean, I average about 70 to 80 frames most of the time. But there'll be times I get in certain areas, whether it's Tiger Bay, in certain places, say such as like going to YBL, I will get bottlenecked on my frames because of the performance of the game sometimes. So once this game finally gets optimized, it'll be good. But for right now, it can be pretty devastating on your actual PC performance. So just be aware about that one. That you may take a really big hit. So look at your actual like stats of your computer, what you can actually perform before actually picking up this game, because a lot of systems can actually run at the moment. The next thing I want to talk about is not exactly a negative, but it's more of a gripe or concern that I have for the future of the game when it comes to the two different game modes that they have, which is the warfare. They also have the joint operation. Now, right now, it's not a huge deal because it's very base game. The bosses, the areas only have certain type of gear that's not really too crazy at the moment. But my concern is later on when we start getting updates to the game, bosses start getting better gear, they start introducing other mechanics to the game. I don't like the idea of the two different game modes being together, where like I can go over to joint operations if I'm getting my butt kicked in PvP, grab a bunch of really good gear, and then head back into the PvP section, and then going and trying to fight other people that may have been having that same struggle. I do feel like they should be two separate ones. Like I said, right now it doesn't really matter because there's not much of a difference between the two, other than you're fighting players, you're fighting NPCs, and the gear's about the same. But when we start getting to that point later down the road where stuff becomes more meta, things become a lot more difficult to obtain in PvP and are a lot easier to obtain in the PvE mode, I feel like those two should be completely separate altogether. Now that we got some negatives out of the way, let's talk about some positives. One of the positives I really do enjoy is the actual gunplay. It is actually pretty decent. I will say that the recoil is something that reminds me of like old Tarkov, but it is still a lot of fun. I like the fact that there is a decent amount of guns right now, and there are a plethora of different ways that you can play the game, whether that's long range, close range. It's all pretty much fun to play right now. Obviously, it's going to need some tweaking in the future, but at the moment, I do enjoy the gunplay and the fact that you have a lot of different customizations you can do to the guns. There hasn't been a lot of games that are like this that I don't think they're like Tarkov or anything like that. I put this game more towards like the DayZ kind of feel because it's more open world. You're going out into a lot larger world that's always active at all times. So for me, it's more of like a DayZ feel, but which is not a bad thing. I still enjoy the feel of this game, the way that they built it, and the gunplay around it. So that's one of the positives I would say is if you are really into the customization of guns and the type of shooting that you'll see in like DayZ or like the gunplay of Tarkov from the older days when the recoil was a little bit different, then you'll enjoy the shooting for sure. And the thing that you'll be doing a lot, the quests. The quests I actually really do enjoy. Now, this is a personal preference for a positive for me, but I love the fact that it is very vague when it comes to these quests, where they say, hey, this is what I need you to do. They don't give you every single detail. They don't give you a specific marker you need to go to other than some of the earlier quests. But for the majority part, you have to go out into the world, explore, go to these locations, learn where it may be. And to me, that is like a really big positive because it makes you have to learn the game and you have to experience these quests for yourself the first time before like looking at a quest guide or whatever. And it gives yourself a sense of like accomplishment. And that's what I really enjoy about this is that, yes, there are like 150 quests in this game, but at the same time, they're actually fun to me at least because you're learning along the way and you're not getting basically, fed every single bit of information. And to me, that was what really engaged me with Gray Zone because I don't like being spoon-fed every single detail, and I'm sure a lot of you don't either. So if you are one of those people that really like to explore the game and learn it for yourself, the questing system is going to be a lot of fun for you. One thing that I noticed a lot too that I enjoyed was the actual squatting up with other people, because I obviously play solo, as a lot of you know, most of the time. And when I wanted to actually team up with another person or team up with like another group of people, it was very easy to do. Like all I had to do was just go to the map, click on their little icon, boom, join their squad, or ask to be joined to join their squad. It was very simple and easy to do. You could send them a message real quick too, say, hey, I want to join. They say yes or no, they invite you, boom, you're done, you're ready to go. And for me, that was really nice because it was a very easy way to engage with other players and get to know other people, because you know that somebody's going to be heading to Tiger Bay. They may already be at Tiger Bay and you're heading that way too. You can be like, hey, is it clear over there? All right, I'm coming in, I'm going to help you out, clear this out for me. It was a lot of fun because there was a lot of ways to engage with the community and just overall a good time. So kudos to them. I do think that the actual system is very, very nice. Although I will say, when it comes to right now the issue with the helicopters, it's kind of annoying. It is nice being separate for that, because you can call in your own helicopter and not have to wait for your teammate's helicopter. That's about the only thing that's the negative side of it. But beyond that, the very positive, the squad system works very nice. And to end off this video, I want to go over a few things that I think could be improved that honestly are the biggest gripes that I have. There's like 2 of them I really want to go over today, but there is a decent amount that I want to go over in a future video as well. But for today, we'll talk about 2 main ones, and that is basically the traveling around the map and some of the hotkeys for the game, or at least specifically one that really bothers me, that they have it implemented into the game, but they don't have it implemented into everything. But the first thing we'll talk about, obviously, is the transport. Right now, we only have the helicopters, and it just becomes a bottleneck for pretty much everything in the game. It's pretty horrible right now, let's be honest. But the one thing I really think that could improve the game is adding some other vehicles. Obviously, they have roads. I'm sure this is a thought they've had before in their mind, but I'll just reiterate this to you guys and to them. But if they haven't thought about this, and hopefully we can get this to them so they can understand our thoughts on this. But vehicles, I feel like ground vehicles really should be a thing, whether it's a truck, whether it's like a Humvee or a Jeep, whatever it may be. Or you can even have like an upgrade system. You start with like a big truck, and that's the vehicle that you have to take to other locations. I feel like that would really clear up the actual like transportation. Have it so you have to transport to locations via ground vehicle first. For one, it'll be beneficial to everyone, because you'll be able to actually come in a little more stealthier and not have a giant helicopter going off and, you know, letting everyone know in that location that you're on their way, so they can come sit in at the actual landing site and camp you. That will fix that and like immediately, because you could have it where you don't land or you don't drive specifically to the actual building. You could be like, you know, 40 meters away, so they don't actually hear the vehicle coming in. It get dropped off there and then go into the area. And then when you actually are ready to go back to the base, then you can call in your actual helicopter to come in and pick you up in exfil. For me, I feel like that's going to be a lot easier for a rotation of the game. You're going to allow people to be, you know, spreading throughout the map on their vehicles, and then when they need to come back in, there's only 1 or 2 helicopters actually returning to base. And hopefully that's a really good idea, because to me, I think that's going to actually fix the issue where people are waiting 10-15 minutes to actually get back to base or go somewhere while sitting at base. Just clears up that time, and people are actually going to want to play the game more. And then the last thing is just quality of life stuff, and it really just comes down to the control left click that we have available for the game when it comes to quickly moving items from your inventory to your stash. I really feel like that needs to be implemented when it comes to looting a body, specifically when you're looting their weapon. So like if I want to take like their scope off their gun, if I want to take their magazine, or whatever it may be off the person's gun, it would be nice that it automatically does, because as you can see here, like I'm clicking all these different objects and it's not coming off. I can even do it with the one that I'm equipped with, and it's still like I'm control left clicking and these items are not coming off this gun that aren't locked. And it becomes just a nuisance having to find the item, drag it all the way down. Sometimes the dragging doesn't work properly and the item goes back onto the gun. If they can fix that, awesome, because I really feel like that will make quality of life a lot easier when it comes to quickly looting a body and moving around. It just seems like something they should have had from the beginning, but maybe it was just overlooked, and that's completely fine too. So that's really all they had on that situation. And to end off the video, the most important part, which everyone's probably clicked on this video for, and that is what edition of the game should I buy if I'm interested in trying this game out. I would recommend only getting the standard edition. And there's a specific reason, especially with it being early access. There's no reason to have anything bigger than a 2x2 for your lock container, because there's nothing really important right now to grab other than keys. But keys, once you get to a certain level, you get a key holder, you can put keys in there. Beyond that, it's just not worth it. I would not recommend anything other than standard edition. The money is really easy to earn in this game. The difference between $10,000 and $25,000 starting cash is nothing, considering when you do these quests, you'll have like probably $50,000 within the first like 15 quests. Not even that, probably 10 quests, you'll have $15,000 or $50,000. So for me, it's just not worth it. The people will probably say, well, what about the locker space? I mean, locker size wise, I find 10 by 25 being more than enough, because I just do stash management, cleaning up my stash, selling items that I never use or never will use, because there's not a lot of loot that you really have to worry about at the moment of this recording. So for me, a 10 by 60 is just pointless space wasted. And unless you're really wanting to just support the game, which if you are, awesome, then get the supporter edition and you've got that extra space, but it is $100. And I feel like right now when it comes to gaming, there's a lot you could spend your money on for $100. That's a little bit more than what this game has to offer at the moment. The other thing too that I really have a gripe with that is that games in this genre are doing that a lot now, where they're making you pay extra for slots for your locker size or your stash size, whatever it may be. And to me, that's just really petty, because we've been playing games for, at least for me, I've been playing games for the last 28, 29 years, and this was never an issue. You could always have as many items as you want for most games. It was never a big thing. This wasn't like a, oh, look at this, more space for you. It's frustrating to see, especially in games nowadays. For me, I don't think you need the space as of right now for this game, so I'd recommend only getting the standard edition. So, if you guys have any questions, please leave a comment down below. I'll try to answer them as fast as I can. If you have any other questions about Gray Zone that you may want to know for like the future, that whatever it may be, like what you think it's going to happen, or it's just discussions you want to have, leave a comment down below. All the type of stuff. So, I'll see you guys in the next one.